Here's the material list on 8x12x8 A-frame. These prices are current. A few days ago, I just drew this paperwork right here up this morning, actually a few minutes ago. Here's the material list. 8 4x8x16 solid cap blocks, cinder blocks. They're the little ones that are only 4 inches thick that does not have hole slots in them. They're solid. 2 4x4x12s, pressure treated. 2 2x4x12s, pressure treated. 10 2x4x8s, pressure treated. 3 sheets of some kind of 4x8 sheet plywood or whatever you're putting on your deck. I'd go treat plywood myself. With treated plywood, you need extra 12 foot of 2x4s so you can put bridging blocks in, so you can get a 12 footer, or I usually just get 2/8 because it costs like the same thing probably, and gives me a little bit more to work with in case I make a mistake. If you put bridging blocks in, don't put them in the ends yet, just put them in the centers. Typically a bridging block would be 14.5 inches. It's not the same case with treated plywood, with treated lumber. Don't cut them 14.5, cut them 14 3/8. 11 2x4x12s. 7 of those are going to be for studs on either side, or both bearing walls. The other 4 are for the plates for the bearing walls, 1 on each, or 2 on each side, 1 lower, 1 upper on each side. 6 2x4x8s. The rear wall, 3 studs. The front wall, 2 jack studs, and the header. 7 2x4x10s. That's the rafters. Siding. I use smart side siding. 10 sheets. My measurements work out the same way. With it's a 3/8 sheet. You can use 3/8 T111. I don't use it because I don't use any T111 because it used to just a little bit of weather get on it and it damaged the sheets, and I had to turn over a completed product and I took losses. I've had to replace those freaking sheets, trying to keep them dried in with plastic and stuff. Brand new, on the ground or on the walls. If they got wet, the ones in the center on the walls always buckled, and I had to pull center sheets out after they were installed, and it's just expensive, yeah. Trim. I use the same thing they use on the Home Depot Lowe's sheds. It's not really what they call a 1x4. It's a premium furring strip. It's in a different location usually. Always, actually. It's not on the regular 1x aisle. Unless they have it, some Lowe's, I think, have it underneath in little slide drawer type things. Usually it's over there with the siding, because that's in a weird spot too, or it's along a back wall. Right there by usually the big bay door. The roof. Takes 36-foot tar paper. Ooh, what else we got here? There's my little picture. The bottom part shows 16-inch centers, so I can count joists. Top part shows 2-foot centers, so I can count bearing wall studs for both walls. Really, I'm just counting them one time because the 2x4x12s get split in half. Same thing with the roof. I count one time and use 10 footers, and it gets split in half, and it applies to the other wall. The gable walls, there's only 3 studs on each one. And there's only 2 studs on the front one, actually, little jack studs, and the last stud gets used for a header. Yeah, I think I just explained that right there. Hardware. 6 black 4-inch T-hinges. These come from Home Depot. Lowe's doesn't have them. All the hardware comes from Home Depot. Lowe's hardware just doesn't work quite as well. It doesn't look as good, actually. A black lockable 8-inch sliding latch. That's Home Depot. The little 3.5 inch, I use 3.5 inches or 4 inches instead of 2.5 inch ones on the little slide latches because they're easier to work with. They're just easier to work with. They cost very little more, only a few cents. Half the time they have black and half the time they don't. It doesn't matter, it's inside anyway. One thing to note on that black 8-inch slide latch that they have at Home Depot, the siding has a consistent inconsistency. It happens to me on every shed that I use these latches on because the latches are so precise. They need the elevations correct. I have to bend the receiving end of that latch. What I do is I take 2 pairs of vice grips, clamp them on, I bend it all the way together, and then I pull it apart. Like physically using muscle trying to separate the back part instead of where I bend it at the front. You'll figure it out. It'll end up, instead of the 2 areas where you put screws in being flat, they'll be angled, which is what you need. I've had other problems with these latches. I've taken grinders and at the tip of the latch, just ground a little bevel edge all the way around it. Sometimes that kind of stuff's necessary. What it is. Usually when I build all these sheds, I use 2-inch ring shanks. All the studs go sideways in there. By the time I nail all the siding to the gable walls, there's always little points sticking off on the freaking nails too. Those things are sharp. I always hit every one of those on the gable walls with a grinder, with a cut wheel. I grind them off. Usually most nails that are missed, I also just grind off. I don't back nails back out usually. Alright, here's my actual spreadsheet on this. These are all Lowe's parts. That's Lowe's part numbers. Current cost. And you see subtotal right there, the first line past the purple. That's the center blocks. Here's the runners. Here's treated 2x4x10s. Treated 2x4x12s. I guess that works better. Let's do the 10s again. Here's the 10s. Now it's highlighted. How many times did I not highlight? Oops. 12s highlighted. 2x4x8s. 2x4x10s. All right, we're working in clear. That means not treated now. Treated was for the floor system. This is for everything above the floor. What else we got? Trim. Nope. Trim. Keep these part numbers for whatever they are. I can't scroll up. Yeah, I can. Lowe's SKU numbers and Lowe's item numbers. Yeah, two different numbers I work with. Smart Side siding's changed. Home Depot and Lowe's both go by the manufacturer's little, that other kind of, the one with a symbol craft on it. But subroof sheets, 7/16 OSB. 3/4 inch OSB. Talking groove. Here's just where I put a number in for extra 2x4s for an upgrade, because I have calculations on the right hand side of the sheet that I go by, and that just totals it all up for me automatically. And actually, here's the costs of the OSB right now. It's $15.98, and the treated 3/4 is $40. So it's running $25 a sheet, roughly, something like that. Different, which is consistent and normal. Siding. There's siding. Smart Side. And these are all subtotals only. It hasn't been totaled up. These are just subtotals per item. And we use black onyx just because it's a basic color. And it's at the top of my list, and actually for a while it's the only one that did have calculations where the others didn't. Oh well. Right? Make sure that's it. Yeah, that's it. Alright. Let's go a little bit further over. Alright, here's other numbers. These are numbers right here where it says other. This is other numbers that are concerned that they're not expected at checkout. Linear footage on paper. If you don't have any tar paper, you just gotta buy a freaking $18 roll, even though you only need 36 foot of it. You know, yeah. A set of hardware I got numbered at 42. I think it's running a little bit higher right now. Square fasteners, 96 foot. I call them at 60 cents a foot. 50 is probably more in line with this shed, but I have to do a happy medium. I have to change it for every shed unless I do just, something that kind of works across all of them. Here's all of our numbers. That's what I'd expect at retail sub right now. That's what I expect for tax. That's what I expect actually at checkout. Here's a 10% number for people who have military discounts. I don't work with a discount. Here's a retail difference on the floor, just on pricing of the lumber only. There's no labor in that. I usually don't charge any kind of labor on upgrading that floor, so they'll have a better shed, a lot more longevity with it. And these are just the same calculations when they're in the column. I just have them all listed, totals right there for the most part. And I haven't linked any pages up to this yet, so one more time. This is actually on. Oh no, we need the other paper. Let me get my other paperwork out. It's got the measurements. I'll pause this real quick and get my 8x8 paperwork out. And this is actually my paperwork I use every time on anything 8 foot wide that's A-frame. It's just my 8x8 A-frame. This is my original paperwork actually. It's got pencil marks and real ink marks, and everything I print that's a copy of it is just never quite the same again. It's just never the same. It's pretty basic. That's the basic material. This, I don't even know how accurate that is. It's old. And that's the older one. That's the new one. That's the one, the same sheet. The Smart Side siding has, no matter if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot now, they have the same SKU number. Alright, let's see the other side. Yeah, I got pretty paperwork on it. It works. This is actually a good one. This is one that doesn't mess me up. This phone personal paperwork. That number's wrong. That 94 5/16. I don't know what the hell that is. What's wrong with these sheets with these numbers? Yeah, 62.5. That's 74.5 pretty much. That number right there should be 95.5, 95.25 actually. Or actually, maybe I don't use that anymore. That's why my sheets don't work out as well. Go 95.25. That's what I always use. It doesn't matter if it doesn't quite meet up. It works every time though. And this is a cut list for all the trim actually. Don't go by the fascia measurements. Cut those custom, because this building can grow. I've seen over a 1/4 inch, just in swelling and stuff a lot. Mainly because of the being in wet weather. Anytime it's wet weather, my template never works right. But yeah, that's it pretty much. Alright, later. This is an intro. We are drinking tonight though. Look at that, Bud Light. Okay, there's one thing that I actually missed that I saw in the video. I didn't get video coverage of the second course of plywood going down. Alright. Can you see the mouse? Yeah, there's the mouse. Wow, that's hard to see. Alright, that's the first sheet of plywood we got laid. This is the front of the shed over here. That's the front of the shed. That's the first sheet of plywood we got laid. There's a joint under here, and that's the other half of the sheet that we put in. Alright. Over here, alright, yeah, joint's right there. Over here, we want to start our second course with the front of the shed. It has to be flush right there in the front, right where you open the door. So that's what we'll do. We'll tap that sheet in. We've already got that sheet nailed. We want to tap this one into this one. Set it in. Get it, the same margins at each end. Make sure the bitch is in straight. Make sure it's flush in the front. We're not going to attack the front joist at all. We're going to attack the second joist, third joist, and the fourth joist. Then after that, we'll drop this sheet in and do the same thing. And after that, you pretty much nail that end adjacent to this other course. You nail one nail in every one. You come over here and look at this freaking runner. Alright, if your plywood's hanging off on this end, you go to that end of the runner and hit that bitch with a sledgehammer, not a framing hammer. It's not good enough. It's not heavy enough. All you can do is put a lot of marks in it a lot of times, And you'll think, well, I can't ever move it, but it's really not the case. You got a bullshit hammer on. You need a real hammer. You need a sledgehammer a lot of times on this kind of stuff. Bigger hammers do make a difference. So you would, wherever your plywood's at, hit your runner to match up the front. We don't care about the back. We care about the front. And your front should be straight in line on plywood, because that's what we just set everything by, with a straight line right here on our plywood. But after you get that whole second course tacked in back there, hit your runner either way, and then nail, we're still not nailing the ends yet. We've never nailed ends yet. After you get your runner and flush with your plywood on the front, you come over here and pop a nail on each end over here. Then after that, worry about straightening up the ends. We're getting the plywood straight. We're getting the runner straight to the plywood, and then we can straighten up those little centers right there in the middle. We're not worried about those right now. We're worried about straight lines through, and getting it to lay right, and getting both edges of everything tacked down before we try to do that, because that'll mess up a lot of times by the time you finish moving stuff. Save those for last. Just get your margins and stuff right, and make sure it's flush, you know, right there at that joint, because you're going by that joint of that plywood, and you're squaring. I don't care what your freaking diagonals say or anything. They don't mean anything when you measure it right and you're still a 3/8 of an inch off on this runner. Get this freaking runner right to our plywood. Our plywood's going to be more consistent than that diagonal was probably. And if it's not, big deal. You'll never notice it. I've never noticed it. I build these things all the time. But yeah, that's all. I believe the only thing I pretty much missed. So that's it. I guess this is an introductory that's over.